Today's webinar is entitled Building Digital Communities Through Blogs and Social Networking, presented by Patrick Stillman. Patrick is the Innovations and Programming Officer of Media Arts Center San Diego and was a founding officer of the nonprofit organization in 1994. He has a long history with the arts, nonprofit organizations, and business operations in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and most currently San Diego. Patrick continues to act as the designated lead trainer for the California of the Past project, which is now located in 40 libraries statewide. I'm now happy to introduce Patrick Stillman.
Welcome, everybody. This is Building Digital Communities Through Blogs and Social Networking, Digital Citizens. You've already gone through the housekeeping, but I would just like to reiterate, we will be using the chat session throughout the webinar. So make sure if you have a question that you log that in the Q&A section. Great. As digital library systems, applications, and projects proliferate, we expect a growing industry to emerge. In many ways, digital libraries propel the state of the art in information technology by requiring seamless integration of diverse approaches to collecting, organizing, storing, accessing, and applying knowledge. That statement was reported in Communications of the Association for Computing Machinery News by University Computer and Library Sciences professors Edward Fox and Gary Marchionne. A decade later, this remains true as well. With a combination of social media, traditional websites, libraries are embracing the new area of digital communities and are reshaping their relationships with their patrons. Building a digital community around your brand or library focus is a great way to create ambassadors and keep patrons coming back to your site. A digital community, simply put, is a group of people coming together with similar goals and interests online. Community can come in many forms. You may want to develop it around something as direct and traditional as a regular book review, or you may want to embrace social networking and mobile apps in new creative ways. Libraries around the world are making progressive strides by integrating new technologies into their marketing and information sharing. As we learned during my last InfoPeople webinar, using smartphones as a marketing and programming tool, libraries are already sharing e-books and audio collections, instructions via podcasts, virtual tours of libraries, mapping local history, networking with colleagues, social sharing of what you're reading, incorporating quick response codes and location-based check-ins. Wow. So the future is really already here, and many of these exciting ideas can be easily incorporated in today's topic of building digital communities through blogs and social networking. Today's webinar will explore embracing today's technology, blogging versus social networking, building a brand, creating a social media guide, effective library tools, and getting started. This is an introductory webinar, so I'll try to cover a lot of ground. Please make sure that when you fill out the survey at the end that you pass along your contact information, because I always follow up my webinars with an email generated from questions and answers and thoughts that come out of our interaction. And if you missed out on submitting information, you'll also get my email and be able to contact me later. One second. Great. If you're asking yourself, why does it matter whether or not you embrace today's technology at the library, you need to look at what's happening in the world today. We live in a computer age, and we're living lives connected well beyond the confines of our own neighborhood. According to the April 2011 report from Booz & Company, there were 100 million personal computers in 1999 and 1.4 billion last year. The number of phone users increased from 10 million to more than 5 billion over the same period, and a number of internet users surged from 3 million to 2 billion. We're talking some huge numbers there. Not only are we attached to technology, but our behaviors are changing because of it. Around the globe, people are coming to expect constant immersion in the digital world to be able to fulfill their need for communication, information, and entertainment anywhere at any time. What is more, they are not just consuming content, but they're also creating it. Before we look into the nature of blogs and social networking, it's important that we start with some basics. In order to build the structure for our new digital community, we should ask ourselves, who is our target audience and what are their needs? A related question that we can consider is, why do communities form around our physical libraries? And can we incorporate that into our online presence? What do users want? What do users need? What do we do when these two things differ between wanting and needing? When we do this at a reference desk, it's a reference interview. When we do it at collections, that's how we build our interest in the collection. And on a larger scale, it's assessment. What's the value that we can offer to our patrons? What do they really need? Outcome-based assessments lead to effective marketing. I assume that most patrons engage in your library because of the collections and the reference help. They form around physical collections because of interest, ownership, and investment. Interest leads to ownership, which then leads to investment. So build your digital community with this in mind. You'd be most successful if you sort of get out of the library. You know, think outside the box. Reach out to your local community that you're not maybe reaching as well as you reach your patrons that are coming into your physical library. You may even consider joining meetup.com, which provides a great way for you to engage your community and see what people in your area are interested in. Other characteristics of your intended audience may also play a role, for example, age. If your audience is teens, which we call digital natives, that's going to be a lot different than your focus on elders, which we call digital immigrants. Each audience has different wants and needs, as well as utilize technology in different ways, and especially in the way they communicate. So if you want to tailor your activities on what will reach your community, you need to understand who they are and how they're using the technology. As any worthwhile project, you'll benefit by doing legwork. As you can imagine, there's nothing more disappointing than putting in the effort to start something and then wait for people to find you. Identifying patrons and colleagues you already have a relationship with can help you to get things started. Utilize this group to give you feedback on what works and inform you on what they would invest their time and interest in. So my suggestion is, focus on who you have close at hand to help you build what you're creating, but don't rely on that, and think about who's out there in the world around you that you'd like to bring in. Okay. So let me just ask a quick question here. We're going to do a little poll, and I'm going to open it here. So I'm curious, what are you currently doing? So a lot of us are using Twitter, Facebook, Flickr, Posterous, YouTube, many different social networking and blog sites. So Chuck, maybe you can just verify that this is active. Oh, I see bar graph activity happening. Great. So you're going ahead and answering that. Thank you. We'll come back to it in a moment. So you might ask yourself, what is the difference between blogging and social networking? You can probably get a variety of answers if you ask a variety of people. A blog, I basically identify as an online journal. The activity updating a blog is blogging, and someone who is blogging is a blogger. So those are terms you might know or should know. Social networks, meanwhile, are places online that bring together like-minded people to share ideas, activities, events, and interests with their individual networks. And if we just take a quick look, I'm going to close the poll here. And in a moment, we'll look at the results here. And 10 more seconds here to wrap up the polling. Okay, and here come the results. Not surprising, we see a lot of us are already on Facebook as well as Twitter, but we're also starting to incorporate other social networking, social media sites that include video or photos like YouTube. I see some people are blogging on WordPress. Very interesting to see what other librarians are doing. Last week I was talking with Frank Luna, our marketing expert at Media Arts, and about today's webinar, and he offered his input about what's the difference between blogging and social networking. He looks at blogs as a place to showcase where you're an authority on a particular subject. Meanwhile, he uses social networking to build his web presence and his brand and direct it to his blog. His definition allows us to think of blogging as a home base that all of our marketing points back to. On this blog, content is king. Information provides a powerful tool towards building an audience. You might create themed blog posts like Author of the Week, things you didn't know about John Steinbeck, 10 steps to writing your own book, or a list of the library's top 10 books for 2011. The blog can be informative and authoritative while still being interesting and fun. Meanwhile, the social networking is right here and right now. Thoughts, comments, conversations that move rapidly against the backdrop of our brand, personality that we share online. You might create informative statements like, the latest Rick Riordan book just came in and will be on the shelves this afternoon. Add quick events by sharing an event like today's book discussion, A Still Moment by Eudora Welty. Or ask a question like, what's your favorite library, story, or service? The best social networking strategies start with conversations. With so many similar interactive features, it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between blogs and social networks. But for me, another way to look at it is it comes down to word count and intent. Blogs typically can be any length, though I would warn you the most effective are only 250 words. And they also share in-depth information, while social networks like Facebook often limit you to 120 characters and are more interactive, hence the conversation. Not a perfect definition, and it certainly doesn't apply to photo and video streams like Flickr or YouTube, but it works in most cases. Okay, so let's take a little bit more of a look at blogs. Bloggings are a natural for librarians. These are an extension of what we already do, identify, organize, and make information accessible in libraries. They are simple and effective ways for librarians to stay informed and for libraries to disseminate information in a timely manner. Just type in great library blogs into your search engine and you'll find a variety of blogs touting the best library blogs. If you're just starting out, read some of these blogs to get an idea of how you can be an effective communicator. 4 of my favorites are right here for you to look into after our webinar today. Michael Stevens of St. Joseph County, Indiana Public Library believes that blogging is one of the most effective things a medium or small library can do to reach a lot of people without spending a lot. And I urge all libraries to do this. Like a political manifesto, that library built a mission for its library, a mission statement for its library blog, which states our blog is good, it's going to be worth your time to visit it, and we created it ourselves. Some very powerful things that we can do even if we're a small library. You know, blogging is nothing new. In 2003, there were already 57 established library weblogs, and the number has only risen dramatically over the past 8 years. Despite the increasing popularity of blogs, few libraries have taken advantage of what they can offer. Adding a blog to libraries is free and easy. Librarians can collect and make information accessible to patrons and researchers, and if they want, invite them in on the discussion. Blogs can be updated easily, frequently, and continuously, making them an appealing alternative to static newsletters. You may receive both personal and professional benefits from blogging. On the personal side, you can refine your writing skills, increase your knowledge base, make you a better researcher, establish you as an authority figure on the topic, connect you with other librarian bloggers, and perhaps it will even motivate you. Meanwhile, on the professional side, the library benefits through real-time discussions, allows for others to backlink or share your words with others out on the World Wide Web. It boosts traffic to your site, so low-cost marketing, immediate self-publishing, and of course it establishes your brand. Okay, here we have a few tips offered by Chris Brogan, who wrote up 10 tips to better blogging, and it's so tiny that you could even write it down on a 3x5 card and post it by your workstation. So many people who build their first website are afraid to make it live until it's perfect. You know, art is never perfect, so put your critical mind to the side, you know, and get messy. And let's take a look at these top 10 tips. So one, write to be helpful. You know, consider what someone who is reading your blog would need to know in order to better understand the project or process. Be brief. Usually you only have a few minutes to get their attention and keep them, so you don't want to be too wordy. Tell a story. People engage and can relate to other stories. Connect others if appropriate. Share and blog often. Don't overthink it. Be thoughtful. Certainly don't be mean. Publish often enough to build a relationship with your audience and be mindful of their time. Some very simple, straightforward tips. Okay, let's move on to social networking. While I share a brief history of blogging and social networks, let's do a quick social networking exercise. You've heard me talk a lot. Now I want you to pitch your community why they should read your blog, or perhaps why they should attend a specific event at your library in 120 characters. Normally I'd have you tweet me your response, but since we're all currently in the webinar, let's go ahead and use the tool at hand. Use the chat. So go ahead, and I want you to post on our chat board in 120 characters, and you're going to have to guess exactly how that is. I believe it's about 2 full lines if you are using the interface open to full capacity on your desktop or laptop. So 2 lines. I want you to share a brief I want you to pitch your audience why they should read your blog or attend a specific event at your library. So go ahead and start sharing that information as you would if it was a tweet. And maybe before you post, reread it and think about your post, because you want to be succinct and family-friendly, maybe even humorous or thought-provoking. Check your spelling and check your readability and check your syntax. You know, you're broadcasting to the whole world, so you have 140 characters to make a mistake, right? You want to make sure you're not showing sloppy, or we want to make our work very clear. And, you know, it never hurts to have a partner in the process. Even all good writers look for readers and editors to help them shape their thoughts and words before going to press. You can do that when you're blogging and social networking as well. So go ahead and continue to make your posts. And while we do this exercise, in the chat section, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a brief history lesson. So in 1971, the first text was sent computer to computer. Online bulletin boards, websites, and social network sites like GeoCities followed suit. but it took nearly 20 years before AOL was on the scene offering instant messaging. Later, Friendster and MySpace came along, but the real revolution took place when Facebook and Twitter launched in 2004 and 2006, respectively. Today's social media offers us a large variety of surfaces, software, apps, and plugins that give us the power to engage with each other by expressing our individual style in real time. With the advancement of mobile technologies, we are able to do everything that we used to do at home at our desk while we're on the go. Not only is it not surprising that libraries are finding creative uses for social media, but it's becoming more and more necessary in order to remain relevant in this fast-moving digital age. With each passing day, more and more apps are becoming available, including those designed for library websites and by library database vendors that can assist. If you're ready to dip your toes into the mLibrary movement, I have a website that I'm going to share with you after we're done with this exercise, mLibrary Wiki, which truly showcases the endless number of active mLibraries across the globe to vendors like Boopsy, publishers like Encyclopedia Britannica and Project Gutenberg. Certainly the speed of technology shows no sign of slowing. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop making our posts. And let's take a look at what we've got here. 1 second. Great. Nice. I see some really good posts there. Interesting. Great. As you read the post, I'd like you to consider the use of language, even in small amounts. It's very powerful, and it can provide personality or create a desire to learn more. That's what we need to strive for, because posts can be easily lost in the flurry of postings. I'd like to switch things up by moving between being all business and sharing a fun thought to express my personality, then maybe linking to photos or videos, and then certainly commenting and retweeting other people's posts as I go throughout my day. Most of us are looking for a refreshing point of view, a sense of honesty and compassion. So take a look at those postings we see there today and see if you can see examples of personality, teasers, or open interest that maybe caught your attention. Good job, everybody. A lot of libraries have started building presence using social networks by creating profiles, but you have to ask yourself, is being there enough? What's your real goal in setting up a library profile? You know, a nice photo, your address and hours, your website URL, and a few offhand comments probably aren't going to win you many friends. The goal should be, how can I be useful to my patrons where they are? I challenge you to think about that question as it relates to you, your work, and the library patrons you serve. How can I be useful to my patrons where they are? Okay, so we have another short list of things, tips that are helpful. Common sense, once again, shows up in these 8 tips to improve your social networking skills. Create an extension of the library with links to the catalog, chat reference pages, research guides, calendar of events. And now that we're going mobile with all kinds of devices from smartphones to tablets, it's becoming just as interesting and easy to add video and photos. I really like the cross-posting tip. Helping your community is great, and supporting other organizations who share similar ideologies and goals can be an amazing way to build relationships with other organizations and broaden your message through shared contacts. Searching for awesome libraries using social networking is much more difficult than searching for top blogs. Your search results will come up with lots of useful information and tools to help you along the way. These days, it seems everyone is using social networks to some extent. I suggest you consider friending or following other local libraries on Facebook and Twitter. This will give you a start and some ideas of how they manage their community and may provide inspiration, collaboration, or professional contacts to network with. I've also include befriending or following national organizations like ALA or IMLS, and they have Facebook pages of their own. And they certainly are leaders in the field for your specialty. For example, if you're working with teens on library space after-school programs, you may want to keep tabs on what's happening with YOUmedia at Chicago Public Library. So if you're aware of any sort of library doing work in the same field or area as you, and you consider them a leader, befriend them and certainly watch what they're doing. And as you interact and read with what they're doing, it can maybe assist you in defining how you want to reach your own community. Whether you decide to blog or use social networks or both, it's important to keep things fresh and offer your community a way to interact with you that keeps them engaged. Some suggestions that you might consider that come from actual library activities include some of these inspired ideas. Tuesday trivia with prizes for the first correct answer. Broadcasting live events like authors and children's readers. Photo contests for National Library Week. Reference highlights featuring good questions that have come through the reference desk. Checking in with Foursquare. Tweet when checking out with Symphony. First Read highlights new books as they become available at the library. Short videos highlighting events at the library or a library tour. Get feedback from the community. So that's a handful of real-world activities happening at libraries that you can start using in your own social networking. Neil Perkins of Only Dead Fish presents some really good sound advice for digital communities that I want to share with you. First is community should have a purpose. It's probably not difficult to identify your community, but as Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg put it, communities already exist. Instead, think about how you can help that community do what it wants to do. Secondly, put community at the heart of what you do. A business without engaging and nurturing its community is like a village, a town, or a city without a population, said author Alan Moore. And thirdly, don't broadcast at your community. People are interested in what you have to say, but it's a conversation. So don't overdo it with the messages. Instead, interact, and don't only create content about your library and your brand, but try creating content about your community as well, the people and their stories. Don't forget, your community are creating a lot of value, or they're getting a lot of value through their interaction. So you shouldn't think about what value you're adding. I'm sorry, let me say that again. I want you to remember that your community finds value through your social networking. So take the time to think about what value you're adding and how you can add more. I had mentioned Neil from Only Dead Fish blog. He's not a librarian, but he's got a great blog, so I'm going to add that here to the list. And what you'll find online is I posted Neil's complete 10 key principles behind digital communities with this webinar, so it can deepen your thoughts on what makes for great common sense in dealing with building your digital community. Okay, let's do a hands question. So how many of you have established an online brand for your library? I'd like you to raise your hands. Great. I see quite a few people here have actually already established a brand. Wow, I'm really impressed. I think that's really kind of a cutting-edge concept and extremely important today. You know, what is your brand? What is your business personality? You know, is it hip, fast, and modern, or is it traditional, unwavering, and classic? You know, branding is sort of the latest marketing concept being applied to people and businesses online beyond the corporate world. In many ways, branding is similar to a nonprofit's mission statement. It distills the library story down to perhaps one sentence, and then use it as a guideline for your use of language, images, and style in all of your marketing efforts. Heck, I've even seen the branding concept on reality shows like America's Next Top Model, where Each contestant is given one word as a personal brand to incorporate in everything they do. I've included ALA's library branding PDF link on this slide for you to visit later and review. It's just an excerpt, but it's a really good excerpt, and if it piques your interest, you may want to get the full report. They suggest that your story can be about the details of the library, great customer service, a large collection, a beautiful building, or it can be about the needs that the library could fill in the lives of its patrons. The story might be that the library is a place where a community connects and comes together. It might be the intellectual center of a small town. It could be the tool that parents use to give their kids a head start in life. It could be the center of a campus life or college, or a place for students can feel a part of community. Any one of these stories could be compelling to people thinking of using the library. They're powerful definitions of what makes the library relevant and important in its community. Personally, when I think of branding, my mind wanders to a series of personal computer TV commercials that had an actual person representing a Windows and Apple computer. I'm sure you've seen it on TV. In that series of ads, Apple was positioning itself as a young, trendy, against its competitor Windows, which was old-fashioned and out of date. Your brand should be broken down into bite-sized concepts that are easily identified and represented by the use of language, color, and design that could mirror something like those commercials. It was a really good way to get their concept of their personal brand out. The next important step is creating a social media guide. I'm sure that, like Media Arts where I work, you'll find that other coworkers are also online, and it can become pretty confusing when everyone's doing their own thing. A growing movement among libraries has been taken from our business counterparts. The social media guide is a brief guide to how everyone should present the library brand. A good guide will not infringe upon individual personalities, but should underscore your library's overall brand. For Media Arts, our social media guide was born out of our original marketing guidelines, which included information as basic as what font type, font size, and colors everyone should use when creating websites or printed materials. So we had a consistent style across the board. As our online presence grew, our guidelines began to address a variety of items, including some of the following. Never respond negatively to public comments, regardless of what has been said. Always refer to the organization as Media Arts, not MACSD or the center. It's oftentimes easy to start using little words that you may know within the library, but you want to make sure that you're using the appropriate language that someone who's not connected to your community would understand. Review your posting before submitting to see if the message creates an action or response for our patrons. Since we're doing conversations and we're trying to engage our community, sometimes it's good to force them to do something that responds. And then reply to conversations in a timely manner. At a minimum, I try to make sure I review comments and answer conversations at the beginning and end of my shift. Forbes magazine presented a basic set of corporate guidelines for creating a social media guide that you may want to also incorporate. They have a short list. Lead by example. Rules aren't enough. Leaders should model the behavior they'd like to see when their employees take. Listen before you talk. Say who you are. Show your personality. Respond to ideas and not people. Know your facts and cite your sources. And if you respond to a problem, then own it. So if you see if someone's got an issue and you respond to it, then take charge of it. For librarians, you have the added opportunity to help you create your social media guide by joining ALA's Connect Social Media Working Group. And I have their information right here. Let me go ahead and post it here in chat. Great. So the ALA Connect Social Media Working Group supports the following types of issues surrounding staff use of new media. Providing best practices for a full spectrum of situations, identifying staff ambassadors who can advise other members how to use specific channels like Facebook or Twitter or podcasting. Identify potential training topics based on staff needs and recommend best formats for that training as well as potential trainers. Help build screencasts to explain the tools available to staff. Start an open resource center for staff where they can find all of these materials and discuss topics related to new media. And create sandboxes where staff can get their feet wet. And the group will also brainstorm ways that you can better mesh all of these various channels together. So, you know, why not join up with other librarians who are trying to make an impact just like you are? Okay, so let's talk about some of the tools. It's difficult to manage everything, right? Many libraries already have a variety of social networks set up and in use. At my organization, we have many accounts with Twitter, YouTube, Blip, Flickr, Facebook, and Posterous, to name a few. With so many responsibilities, you have to ask yourself, how am I going to manage all that? Well, I found 5 tools that libraries are using to keep on top of everything. And let's discuss some of those. Okay. In the chat section, I'm going to give you some links to the things we're going to talk about here. Great. So iFi is fun. It's the company offers memory cards for your camera that, once set up, automatically upload photos and videos to your computer or your favorite website whenever it's near a wireless connection. So you can take photos at your library events on or off site, and when you're in the range of your wireless, it will automatically send those images to your Flickr account. I try to use a camera like that and take no more than 5 good shots at every event. And using that technique, I quickly can build a great virtual photo album to use for marketing and social networking. And I find that people will take the time to look at, you know, a handful of photos, but they might be disinterested in looking at hundreds of pictures from one event. So I try to really focus on 5 good shots. The second is smartphone texting. You know, the world is going mobile, so we need to find ways to embrace it. Most of the online social networks allow you to post via your phone. Often you don't even need a smartphone, but you can use the text feature on your regular cell phone. When I'm away from my computer is often when I'm most inspired to share something that comes across me or across my mind. What happens when you're in the lobby and in walks a local celebrity? If you set up a social network as a contact, you could text your post a photo or video from your phone instantly, telling everyone what's happening while it's actually happening. To find how to get your text or email link, you need to look within each social network account. So for example, to set up a free Facebook address, you go to your messages view in Facebook and click on claim your Facebook email link. And then it will automatically set you up. And typically, the email address will match your public username. So for example, facebook.com/Patrick Stillman is my profile. And then my email is simply patrickstillman@facebook.com. So I see something, I decide to text about it, I send it to that email link, and it automatically goes right to my Facebook posting. Don't even need a computer. Tiny URLs, I also love this feature. You know, don't you hate those long, complicated URLs? TinyURL is a free service to make posting long URLs easier. So it takes those horribly long URLs and creates a friendly short version that will make it memorable and easy for your community to use or to cut and paste. It also reduces the amount of characters you use on social networking for the link, allowing you to maximize your other language to make a point. So as an example, you can go to TinyURL, and you might have on your website a link that, if you typed it all out, would be mylibrary.com/reading-room/library/reference equals 123 ampersand, right? They sometimes get pretty crazy. But you type that into the TinyURL, and then you can have it set up so that you can write something as simple as library blog, And so now it will redirect anyone going to tinyurl.com/libraryblog, and will take you to that same website that had the really long blog. But now you can tell people in a very short way a URL to replace that really long one. Okay, media dashboards. This is sort of a brand new service that's been cropping up across the internet. Scheduled postings via media dashboards. I like measured voice, which allows me to schedule Facebook and Twitter messages. And probably don't want to do that for your live interaction, but it's great for event promotion. So on a regular basis, I simply go to the dashboard, set up my events for the month, and tell it when I want those messages to be sent. This provides me with a foundation of basic posts that will inform everyone of all the important events that are coming up, and I don't have to worry about missing that promotion should I become engaged in other priorities. It's just, you can sit down and pre-plan it. Dashboards are the latest crop of social media tools aimed to clamp down the social media gusher by letting you update, monitor, and manage and maintain several communication outlets at once. They can even manage passwords for all your accounts, so you don't have to log into every social network site individually. You can just go to the dashboard and have it already all set up within that service. So then you only have to log in once, and you'll be able to interact on all of the social networking sites that you've set up. Two other very popular dashboards are Threadsy and Hootsuite. Threadsy has no fees, and there's no downloads. So it's very popular for that reason. And it provides one clean dashboard, and it offers connections to all of the major social media platforms. Hootsuite is about $6 a month, so you'd have to find some funding for that, but it's also wide and deep with products and features that you can even update multiple social media platforms from your computer or your phone with one message. And then as we were talking about blogs becoming a home base, we've discovered at MediaArts that WordPress is a great tool to utilize to give the public a place to go and find information that's happening at all your social media sites. And a good example of that is we have a teen citizen journalism program that we do with libraries, and they're using mobilestories.org as their website blog. And if you go there, you can find not only their main blog, but photos, tweets, Facebook messages, and videos that these teens have posted all at one site. It's a pretty powerful tool. Okay, so how do we get things started? I hope that overall I gave you a good perspective on ideas of how you can incorporate things into your blogs and social networks. Before we wrap, I'd like to give you a homework assignment. I'd like you to take a moment to explore New York Public Library. They have fully embraced new technologies as tools to create community. If you visit their website, you can explore navigate to their Explore section of their website and visit their blog. And if you're on Facebook, befriend them and explore the long list of features they've incorporated on their Facebook page. They really know how to engage their community and get the most out of those social networking tools. And then, even though it's outside the parameters of this webinar, I recommend you to read up on their overnight scavenger hunt, Find the Future, which took place earlier this year, and their adoption of mobile apps like the Boundless Library. Very cool. Let me see. I've got some links for you on that. I'm going to go ahead and post those. Certainly, it's a big, well-funded library, but I'd say it's worth discovering through blogs, social networks, websites, and apps. You know, you never know when you're going to find that inspiration for something that propels your interest and captures your imagination, right? Something that's specific to your own community. So when you're there, take a look and see what they're doing and see if there's things that you can bring into your own plan. And I would say in order to create your own social media action plan, you know, meet with your staff and colleagues, establish a brand consistent with your library, and if you already have a brand, review it and make sure that it's current and up to date and that you all agree upon it. And then create that social media guide as well as a plan that includes specific activities and frameworks. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some of your questions that have come through. Since I am teaching solo today, I haven't been able to express myself and keep track of all the questions, but I'm going to take a look here. So someone asks, what is Posterous? That's a good question. Posterous is a social media site that we've incorporated a lot to use at our Media Arts Center. And it's what we call a publishing platform. And you can, like WordPress, you could set up your own Posterous site, and then you can actually draw in all different forms of ways you might like to communicate: blogs, Facebook messages, photos, and videos. We find that youth programs, kids are really enjoying using Posterous, and so that's one of the tools that's out there that you could probably use. Okay, it looks like some of these have been answered by Eileen. Thank you very much. Great. Let's see. What happens if tinyURL or Bitly goes down or out of service? That's a good question. Well, you have to, I guess, take some of it in stride or hope that these services are providing banks and banks of computers as backup. Over the past few years, as I've used some of the web services that we talked about, I haven't found that to be necessarily the problem. Or if it is a problem, it's typically short-lived. But I'm not sure. Part of it is just, you know, relying on your relationship and hoping that those services will be continuing. Someone asked if I could recommend a good site for volunteers to share documents and emails with each other. We often use Dropbox to work with staff as well as our partners across the country. Dropbox is a service, Dropbox.com, that allows you to go ahead and put documents in a cloud and then access them anywhere from your computer, laptop, or phone. Another option is also popular is Gmail, which is Google Mail, and that service, even if you don't use the email portion of it, has shared documents, and it's also another tool that's great for people to share information or even share a calendar. So along with this handout, our webinar, you'll find several handouts: a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, the 10 key principles behind digital community, and then 2 fun infographics, a short history of social media and the growth of social media, which I think will be surprising to you and might be tools that you can utilize within the library as you discuss and look at these different ways of creating your social media guide. And then there was 2 links that we had today that I also wanted to go back and underscore, and one was Pew Media's social side of the internet and the ALA branding excerpt. Both really good resources for you to understand the need and be able to express it to your coworkers and utilize in grant writing. So I want to thank everybody for participating today. This is the second of 4 webinars that are being led by Media Arts Center with InfoPeople this year. One we already talked about was in October, but you can find it online, and that is using smartphones for marketing and youth media programs. And you'll find that online. I think that's a powerful webinar that you could revisit if you hadn't participated. And then I'm also pleased to ask you to join us next year on February 8th for youth media activities in your community. And we're going to look at some case studies of youth programs at libraries. And then on March 28th, we're going to do outreach to Hispanic and Latino populations. Media Arts Center was founded out of the San Diego Latino Film Festival and has had 19 years of programming and relationships with the library around Latino communities. So we'll have some very interesting items come from that as well. Great. So we've got about 5 more minutes before we wrap. So if you have some more questions, go ahead and please add that to the Q&A section. And I'm going to just scan the chat section now and see if I can find some other questions that you might be interested in hearing an answer today. Vicki asked, can you recommend a group website for members, like staff or members of a society that is free? The free part's difficult. I know that Ning was a free site. I think it now has a fee, not for the users, but for the group itself, N-I-N-G. It's a great way to find other community groups. And there was another one, I believe, called Tribes. That one might still be free. And you can create a group that people would want to participate in, and they come together around central interests. Okay. Can you use QR codes easily in blogs? As long as you can post a photo, you can certainly incorporate quick response codes, QR codes, into your blog. And certainly we're seeing them appear in many, many marketing components from the library, as well as more information within the bookshelves themselves. Measured voice, is there a fee for measured voice? I see several people have asked that. I believe that we are paying something for that. Let me just double check real quick. So Measured Voice is a communications social media site that I was telling you about. And it doesn't say specifically on their website whether or not it's a fee, but I do believe that there is a fee for that. But it's minimal. Okay, let's see. what's a typical amount of time per day to upkeep a blog, a Twitter account, or a Facebook page? Well, it's certainly easy to get consumed by these things, and so that's one of the reasons that you don't want to overthink it and you want to be responsive. There is no true guideline, but as I said on the blog, the most effective blogs are 250 words, so they're very, very short. And you'll find, because of that, most blogs are like top 10 lists. And that's a very quick, immediate way to attract people's attention in this sort of, what's that newspaper, USA Today, how it's sort of bite-sized news bits. That's the best form of engaging your blog, is very short and concise. So I typically don't spend more than a half an hour, 45 minutes in writing my blog. And then on Facebook, I probably engage in it more than I need to. But like I said, I usually look in at the beginning and the end of my shift so that I can make sure that any sort of conversation that's happening is moving forward. It also gives me time to think, oh, tomorrow morning I'm going to make sure that I express whatever is important for that coming day. So certainly in my social media sites this morning, I was talking about this webinar. Great. So that brings us to the 1 o'clock hour. I hope that you found this informative, and I look forward to sharing more information with you again in the future with InfoPeople. Thank you very much for joining us.